3 of the Western Conference Finals is tonight with the series tied at 1 game apiece. Led by Victor Wembanyama's 41-point, 24-rebound performance, the Spurs took Game 1 in a double OT instant classic. Reigning two-time MVP SGA led the way with 30 points and 9 dimes as the Thunder bounced back to win Game 2. Now the series travels to Texas, which is where we find Tim McMahon on the scene in San Antonio covering the Thunder. So, howdy, Tim. Jaylen Williams, he left Game 2 after just 7 minutes. What is his status ahead of tonight's Game 3?
Howdy, Christine. They've got him listed as questionable with left hamstring soreness. They are saying soreness, not a strain. He did get an MRI. You know, they're leaving open the possibility of him being able to play tonight. It is game to game, but I'll be honest with you. Talked to a lot of people around the league. I can't find anybody who wouldn't be surprised if Jaylen Williams is in the lineup. You know how tricky these hamstrings can be. It was a concern enough that he left after the first quarter in Game 2, and this is the same hamstring that he strained in the second game of the playoffs. He missed the next 6 games. They thought he was fully healthy going into the series, but clearly it's come back up again.
Yeah, we've only seen J-Dub in 4 games this postseason. So the Thunder were able to hold Wemby to 21 points last game. What did they do differently defensively?
Isaiah Hartenstein got involved. And look, Hartenstein only played 12 minutes in Game 1. Most of those were when Luke Cornett, the Spurs' backup center, was on the floor. He barely guarded Wemby at all. They decided to go with wings like Alex Caruso, Jaylen Williams, Lou Dort. It didn't work. Let's be honest, Wemby was completely dominant in Game 1. Hartenstein got that primary assignment. Look, he's not as tall as Wemby, but he's tall. He can be physical. He can just expend all kinds of energy, make him have to really work on the other end. Isaiah Hartenstein had 8 offensive rebounds. 5 of those were in the fourth quarter when Wemby might have been a little bit fatigued. The main thing he did was he kept Wemby from just completely owning the paint offensively. His points in the paint went down from 26 to 10 in Game 2. Free throw attempts from 13 to 3.
All right, the Thunder have not lost on the road this postseason. We'll see if they can keep that streak going. Tim McMahon, live from San Antonio. Thanks, Tim.
Let's talk some more about Victor, who has played in 86 minutes through 2 games. That's the most in any 2-game span in his career. When Wemby's on the court, the Spurs are plus 17. However, the Thunder have dominated the non-Wemby minutes, outscoring the Spurs by 19 in just 20 minutes. Also on the scene on that same court, in fact, in San Antonio, is our NBA reporter, Michael C. Wright, covering the Spurs. So, Michael, what are the Spurs and Wemby saying about bouncing back after that Game 2 loss?
Well, it's all about helping one another. Let's start with Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle, he's got 20 turnovers over the first 2 games of this series. Now, that is the most in postseason history in a 2-game span since the tracking era. So one of the things the Spurs said that they can do is set a lot more ball screens for Stephon Castle, alleviate some of the pressure off of him, and also have some other guys bring the ball up the floor to help out Stephon Castle. Another thing they want to do is they want to help Wembanyama. They want to hit back, is what Julian Champagnie said this morning at shoot-around. Look, every time that Victor is involved in a play, they're pulling at his jersey, they're grabbing at him, they're pulling on his arm when he jumps. Well, guess what? The Spurs say they need to do that kind of thing. They need to see what they can get away with in terms of physicality, because clearly Oklahoma City is doing it too.
All right, we'll see if they're at full strength to accomplish those means, because some significant injuries on that side. You got Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. Let's start with Harper, Michael. What's going on with him?
Well, Dylan Harper had an MRI on his right leg yesterday, and it turns out he's got a little bit of a right adductor injury. Now, the thought at first was that it might be a hamstring, so that's sort of a relief. Dylan will come out tonight. He'll do his pregame warm-up, and then they'll make a decision about how they'll proceed with him. He'll be one of the first players out tonight for the Spurs, so we should know pretty soon about his status. And as far as Fox goes, he originally injured his ankle in Game 4 of the Western Conference semis. He played in Game 5 and Game 6, but it got progressively worse, so they had to hold him out of Games 1 and 2. Fox, same thing with him, game time decision. He will go through his pregame warm-up, and the club will make a decision based on how he feels there.
Okay, so some question marks going up into game time and tip-off. The Spurs 8-4, by the way, without Fox this season, including the postseason. Michael giving us the very latest from San Antonio. And straight ahead, Stephen A. Smith joins the show to weigh in on if J-Dub or Dylan Harper's injury is more significant to their team's success? You could be surprised by the answer.
Sports Center, brought to you by Miracle Grow. Love what you grow.
Game 1 was an instant classic. What awaits us in Game 2?
A much better pace by the Thunder.
SAS! Oh my goodness! Stephon Castle! The highest level of basketball you can find. Wemby feeling it. The MVP says, I got it.
SBA is on a roll right now. The guys brought it tonight. We brought the energy from the jump. Now we got to go on the road against a really good team and go get one.
The Spurs have to settle for a split of the 2 games in Oklahoma. Victor Wembanyama's numbers, though, just gaudy so far in the conference finals, averaging 31 and over 20 boards through 2 games. He's the 3rd player this century to average 30 and 20 over a 2-game span in the playoffs, along with those 2, Giannis and Shaq. And we're joined now by Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A., despite that historic start by Wemby, the Thunder did prevail in Game 2, and we saw OKC just rough up Wemby. The refs, for the most part, let it go. How do you expect Wemby and company to respond tonight?
Well, I expect them to respond with an elevated level of physicality. They know what they need to do. They're going to have to be physical. They're going to have to deal with Oklahoma City Thunder being physical. It'll be interesting to see how the refs call the game, because you can imagine that they're going to hamper Wemby 2 games in a row, that they're not going to look out for him in some capacity. But the other thing San Antonio has to do is stop turning the ball over. They've got 44 turnovers in this series. Stephon Castle has 20 of them in 2 games because he's playing out of position with De'Aaron Fox being injured, and as a result, he's had to be the primary ball handler. But they've got to wiggle their way around that, handling the ball by committee, getting other people involved, even giving it to Wendy from time to time, keeping the ball out of his hands from making those kind of mistakes. You've got 19 more turnovers than Oklahoma City in the first 2 games. Cut down on that, make sure the physicality is on the even playing scale, and they should be just fine.
Yeah, Thunder are a really bad team to be missing some ball handlers against, that's for sure. And what we were talking about injuries here, Stephen A. We got J-Dub, again, they're going to monitor him, but he might not go. And same for Dylan Harper, a game-time decision. Which one is more significant to their team's success?
I think it's Harper. And the reason why I think it's Harper is not just because he's a sensational rookie. Ron Harper is somewhere very, very proud watching his son do his thing. But I think the biggest thing about it, the first game, 24, 11, and 7, you got to look at it from that standpoint, know what he brings to the table. The other side to that is that, again, they're bereft of ball handlers. They've got shooters. They've got defenders. They've got athletes. They've got all of these things except a point guard, because De'Aaron Fox has been out with the high ankle strain. So to lose Harper as well as not have De'Aaron Fox, that's a tremendous, tremendous blow against a piranha-style defense like the Oklahoma City Thunder. You can't afford to lose primary ball handlers. San Antonio just lose one of them. It looks like they're going to have to be without 2 of them. That is not a good position to be in if you're the San Antonio Spurs going up against this team. Anybody else, not that big of a deal. This team, it's a bad thing.
All right, so if I'm picking up on what you're saying, it sounds like you favor the Thunder in this one in San Antonio tonight?
I do favor them. If both De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper are going to be out for this game, then you don't have a primary ball handler, and that's going to be a problem. Now, San Antonio's going to ride the momentum. Both games have been tough. We know they've got the ability to win this game, but the flip side to it is that you could easily lose it if you're turning the ball over, which is what Oklahoma City forces you to do. They've got hands everywhere. They're like octopuses. I mean, they're all everywhere. It's like every guy got 8 hands every time. You go up with your arm, but the ball ain't with you. It's crazy. So you know that's kind of defense they play. And you're going to have to neutralize them to some degree, and that's cutting down on the turnovers and being able to attack the basket, whether it's from the perimeter or inside, with efficiency, not turning the ball over. And without your 2 primary ball handlers and point guards, you don't have anybody to protect the basketball. That's a bad position to be in if you're OKC.
We have had 2 excellent
Against
games.
OKC, I'm sorry, against OKC.
I get you. We have had 2 excellent games so far. Can't wait for Game 3. Stephen A. getting us mentally prepared for tonight. And still ahead, we got more from Stephen A. He's going to be coming back to, well, he's going to revel in his Knicks, being just 2 wins away from the first NBA Finals since 1999.